us for dinner.
Gotta make it balanced.
Yep.
So, cheers, gents.
You ready for this soundbite? Fully.
Fully.
Cheers, buddy.
So
Cheers, fellas.
Cheers.
Thanks for doing this.
Likewise.
Okay.
Alrighty. Let's go on.
You gonna keep your stickers? Your McDonald's stickers?
you can have one.
What if it's a prize?
Well, it does not come after you. I don't know that.
And that is the best opener to this podcast. Welcome to the Flat Five Podcast.
Wow. Okay.
Thank you, Melvin, for coming on the show.
Hey,
This
no
is
problem.
fantastic. We appreciate you letting us stay at your humble abode to do this pod.
Well, thanks. No problem. Thanks for having me.
For
Yeah.
lovely.
Yeah, no problem. Enjoy. Yeah. No, it's great. Glad you guys could make it down.
Absolutely, yeah. It's been honestly an easier trek than I expected. Every time I've come down to London, I've always was like, oh fuck, this is gonna suck. This is gonna be a pain. And you know, maybe because I wasn't driving, maybe because you were driving.
Probably.
That makes it easier.
Yeah.
Every
Get
time.
to chill.
Yeah.
Yeah. Get to be a great co-pilot that doesn't have to actually be a co-pilot because
Yeah.
Maps is in the center console right there. You know?
Left.
Yeah.
You just listen to music. I get it. Yeah.
Yeah. So one thing I wanted to talk about to start this episode is how you became a professional musician, how you became a drummer. And as a two-parter, one, what got you started in music,
Mm-hmm.
and then if you can recall that transitionary period when it went from I'm playing drums to I am a drummer in a band and you know this is my career type.
Whoa. Okay. Well,
No pressure.
when I think about it, it's like kind of like a blank. It just like kind of happened, and that was it. And just stuck to it. But I think getting into music originally was through like film score. So I remember having the Mighty Ducks 2 soundtrack, and I was playing with my Batman toys. I was like 5.
Yes.
And there was like a symphonic part, like one of the film score pieces on the CD.
Yeah.
I was listening to that, and I was like acting out Batman, and I just remember getting goosebumps for the first time from music. I was like, oh, I love music. And then there's always music in the house. And so yeah, that's really kind of what got me into music. Like I remember there's a scene in Return of the Jedi where Luke Skywalker flips out on Darth Vader and he starts beating him up.
Oh, yeah.
And the score behind that, just like, I would rewind it, like 6 years old, just rewinding, just to listen to music, not even the lightsaber fight, just going back.
Just
There's this beautiful choir piece.
Yeah.
And then, that transitioned into, we were getting to the age of 12, 13, and we were all talking about being in bands, and like everyone's like, oh, I want to get a guitar.
Yeah.
And originally I started on bass. And so I did 6 weeks of lessons on bass, and then my parents were like, you don't really seem that interested anymore. I was like, yeah, it's okay. And you're always tapping on the table, so why don't you play drums? And I was like, well, I didn't think you guys would let me. Like, I didn't think you wanted the noise.
Yeah.
And they're like, no, that's okay. So then I saved up birthday money, Christmas money, got about $400. And I called the local music store called Macaulay's at the time, and I was like, "What's your cheapest drum set?" And they had one for $4.99. My parents gave me the extra $100.
What was the kit?
It was a track drum set. Yeah, is that what you started with?
I had a CB.
Okay.
I almost got a track. Or no, I think it was a Westbury, but I.
Okay. Yeah.
That's
Track was
where it's
great,
at.
man. So I went there. I called up my buddy Dom, who did play guitar.
Right.
I was like, I'm going along with Quaid, or I'm going to Macaulay's now.
Mm-hmm.
He's like, okay, I'm coming with you. And then we went there and we bought the drum set and had our first band practice that day.
Nice.
I had already been playing on pillows at that time. Like I would
Yeah.
put on the Blink albums and I'd set my pillows up. And for whatever reason, I was able to like kind of pick up where the snare went,
Yeah.
2 and 4. And that's kind of how I got into drums. And ever since, as soon as I got drums, I've always just been in bands. That was the birth for me.
It's interesting that you started with bass, because a lot of musicians that I know if they're like if they start on one instrument and then and their actual home of an instrument became something different, it's almost always piano, because they're kind of just like, oh, you know, it's the safest bet. It is the most like balanced instrument,
Yes.
you know, but it's interesting you started on bass. What was there like something that gravitated you towards bass, or you have a family member that plays bass or something?
Everybody, all my friends had already picked the cool instruments.
One of those. Yes.
Yeah, so I was left a keyboard or a bass, and I was like, this was like, you know, Blink and Sum 41 are at the time, around at the time, and I wanted to rock out, and I was like, I guess, you know, I can still do that with bass.
See Mark Hoppus.
Yeah,
Yeah, you know, for sure.
I think it was always intended to be in a band, was
Yeah.
why I did it, not necessarily for love of the instrument. That
Right.
came years later, like
Right.
recently.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, what was like the first band that you had that it felt like you were ready to play shows and ready to kind of like start to be a band in the sense of like going out there?
Oh, well, I think it was, it would have been grade 9, and yeah, it was grade 9, and I was in a metal band called Death of Eden.
Dope. That's actually a pretty dope name. Yeah.
Death of Eden.
Death of Eden. So I think we had one, like, I had played one show, two shows before that,
Mhm.
just like with the local music school.
Right.
But then it wasn't until we got to high school when it was like, all right, how do we get other shows? And there's this company called Supernova. Everyone would always talk horribly about them. They're like, well, you know, it doesn't, you know, they take all the money and all these bands sell all these tickets for them, and then the bands don't get paid.
Right.
I'm like, yeah, that might have been shady, but that was like the rude awakening to getting into music. Like, you're going to have to sell tickets.
Yeah.
So eventually, maybe you'll start to make $50 at a show, but for the most part, like, it taught us how to hustle to our friends, how to get people to come out to a show, and the other thing was too, like, the more tickets you sold, you got to pick the time slot that you wanted to play, and so there was a lot of benefits to it. I remember another band that I played in high school. We were called Everyday Legend. We ended up winning one of the big Supernova competitions.
Oh, that's awesome.
Nice.
And there was like Dean Pogue from Roadrunner Records was there, and that
Really?
at that time was our favorite record label. Killswitch
Yeah.
was on it, Lamb of God, Cradle of Filth.
Yeah.
So we were very excited, you know, to
that's
win
right.
that competition.
Yeah.
So,
Roadrunner is rad too. Like they have Nod and they have some of them that just have Turnstile. That's on Roadrunner.
Church not under road.
Yeah. So, yeah, I guess so. High school was my start, and they had Battle of the Bands
Oh yeah.
at the school, and that was like kind of my first
Yeah.
shows, and then getting into the Supernova stuff.
Did you ever go through the whole like setting up your drum set like your favorite drummer kind of era, where it's like I gotta have like the really low kick and snare and the really high cymbals,
Yes.
or like everything like at a perfect 90 degrees, just
Yeah.
hitting all the fucking tones like that, you know?
I'm assuming you went through the same
Oh,
thing.
big time with like so many drummers.
Yeah. Well,
Like-
who was your favorite?
Well, I started when I kind of recognized that it was Aaron Solowaniwick from Billy Talent, because
Oh.
he had like the two crashes here, like
Right.
Matt Gartzka style,
Yep.
and then the ride, and then the other crash.
Right.
And so I had a CB kit with the like the two racks on the floor, kick and snare, and then hats, and then one stand. And I didn't like that, and I was like, I hate that I have to like reach over here. So I just took the middle tom out, and I just shoved the cymbal stand in the slot.
No
and
way.
I was like, this is halfway to Billy Talent. And I was like, I can kind of do that for a bit.
That's awesome.
And then I was lucky enough to get the Zildjian like ZBT pack.
Oh, yeah.
And this way here, I was like, my dad's like, look, Santa got you cymbals or some shit.
That's
And I'm
awesome.
like, Santa forgot cymbal stands. You know? So I was like, I need more. My dad's like, fuck off.
That's hilarious.
So,
man.
At that point was like I was jamming a lot of Blink, but previous to that was like the Police and like the Black Keys.
Crazy.
Maybe, like, you know, it was kind of like this mix of all three.
Yeah.
And then I saw this video. I'm sure you've seen it too. Travis is in like this recording studio, and it's just like a sound check kind of jam thing, and he just plays like this great sort of like drum and bass kind of groove. He does all these crazy fills and shit. And then I saw like Google photos of that kit setup, and I saw that the seat was low, the the snare was angled down,
Yeah.
the toms were really low, but the hi-hats and cymbals were really high, but then the ride was low, and I was like, sign me up. Dude.
Yes, yeah.
This is what's gonna make me amazing at the drum set,
Right,
you know?
yeah.
And all I did is just break the cymbals. We're talking like direct content. Content like that.
It's just-
And it got so bad. I used to tighten the ride cymbals so tight because I didn't know how to control it, like while
Right.
bashing it.
Yeah.
That in the body of the cymbal cracked, not the edge, but the body, like around the
Right.
bell.
Yeah,
and I was
yeah.
like,
I've had some of those.
delete that evidence.
Yeah.
No one can see how bad that is. But who are some of yours?
Travis was probably the biggest one and the longest one. Who else did I really like? Oh, Dan Trapp from Senses Fail. I thought his drumming on that first album was next level.
Absolutely.
And I found it interesting that he thought, or he said that Trey Cool was his influence. And I was like,
That's wicked.
Really?
he sounds more like Travis than
Yeah,
Trey Cool.
Trey Cool,
Yeah, totally.
So,
I'm a huge Trey Cool fan, just as a person.
oh yeah,
I'm
yeah.
a big Green Day fan, but Trey Cool's something for me. It's just, I've always been, like, obsessive about the bottom end of that, of the entire band's like,
Yeah.
history, right? So,
You like his energy?
I like the energy,
Yeah.
I like the technicality to a certain degree that he has, and the consistency, right? Like,
Totally.
it's hard to be a punk, like, drummer and
Yeah.
be consistent, just like to the level of Trey or like Travis. I think
Yeah,
Travis
absolutely.
is probably
Yeah.
like the paragon of consistency.
But he's, yeah.
And you see all the work that he does on himself to like still be that at this age and the age that he is now, right? So
Totally.
it's like you're an athlete, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I saw this video. I don't know if it was. I think it was Travis getting interviewed, like about like one of those sweet rides, like
Oh,
those,
yeah.
like videos, and he was talking to Max Weinberg. I'm pretty sure Max was like, "How do you still like move like that?" He's like, "Just do it." I'm like, "Fuck off, Travis. Come on. You're like Manny Pacquiao, like every day. Like the amount of work that he does. Like you see his Instagram videos and shit. He's like doing ropes. And
Yeah.
He's like paradiddle. You know what I
Right,
mean? He's
right,
just going
yeah.
Crazy.
Yeah.
This little cat though.
Oh, so should I get her in?
Yeah,
Sure, yeah.
Alright.
Sorry.
No worries.
Keep interrupted.
She's like, let me in.
Let me in!
No.
Like Eric Andre.
Yeah.
There you go.
Oh my god.
Sure, just get her out of here.
No problemo.
Quick edit.
Yeah. The good cat.
So you're a sheep.
Oh, that's a sheep.
That's a sheep.
She.
Yeah. Arwen, but we call her Wayne.
Wayne.
Figure that out.
Oh man.
Wayne, how are you now? Good. You? Oh, not so.
Yeah.
So after high school,
Mhm.
what was your like drumming career there? By the time high school finished, were you already playing in bands that were kind of doing more outside of like the London scene? Were you staying around that same area?
Well, okay, so I'm from Cambridge. That's where I was
Whoop, whoop.
drumming at that. Yeah,
Right.
Cambridge. Cambridge.
Time man, fuck.
And I was always the type to always be in two bands. I was always in two bands.
Yeah.
The other bands would hate it because at that time, like, it was, a lot of jealousy. Well, not jealousy, but like, you're supposed to be with us, bro.
It's a family man.
Yeah,
It's a
yeah.
team, bro.
Yeah. Well, I get it, but I want to get better. So right out of high school, this is where I look back and I wish I can course correct there, and I went right to school for drumming.
Right.
But I decided, for whatever reason in my head, I wasn't gonna listen to my parents about that stuff. I was just gonna be like, I'm just gonna be a metal drummer, and that's how it's gonna be.
Yeah.
So out of high school, I think did 1 year, just like playing local shows, and then I was 19, and our first tour was in the UK. I
Wow.
was with a metal band called Unlimited, also from Cambridge.
Nice.
Just with buds. My buddy Zach Gerber was in it too. And I remember that tour was like, we went out there so dumb. We had no idea how to tour. We got there, hired a driver, because we couldn't drive in the UK.
Yeah.
And I just remember getting into the van, and the driver said, okay, so where are we going? And Nick says, he's the singer, he's like, I don't know, call Johnny. And this guy's like, Johnny? Who the fuck is Johnny? And it's like, there's like, I don't know, the guy who booked the tour. He's like, I don't know who Johnny is, so maybe you should call him. So we called Johnny, and then like we had no idea what we're doing, but we survived and we had a blast. And we came home.
How long was the tour?
It was 2 weeks.
Nice.
2 weeks in the UK. It was like 8 shows. And then from there, I'm trying to think what I did. I played a bass in a band.
Nice.
Something You Whisper. Toured with them for like a summer. I was not into it.
Yeah.
Not into playing bass. It was fun because I got to rock out like the dream I had when I first picked up the bass guitar.
Yeah.
So I got to do that. But I was like, I need to be on drums.
Yeah.
And so I joined a hardcore band from Waterloo called Three Crowns, and we started playing shows and touring out east, and that was always a lot of fun because we get to play with counterparts every now and then, and
Nice.
so it was like
they're fantastic.
kind of moving into that
Yeah,
level
absolutely.
of playing.
Yeah.
And then from there, I went to a band on all ships, toured with them for a year or two.
Ships.
Yeah, that was really fun.
Mm-hmm.
And then, yeah, I mean, yeah, lots happened, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So, after playing with metal bands, like, well, you're in Texas King now, of course.
Texas King.
Are you in any other bands as well, or is this like the main front?
Yeah, Texas King is now the main front, but every now and then I'll get hired to do some shows.
Of course,
I was
yeah.
playing with Loviette last year.
Nice.
Great,
That
great
was-
person, great singer too.
Yeah, she's
Yeah.
awesome. And
Shout out Loviette.
yeah, Loviette. No, that's great. And then I'll do like session work and stuff, but yeah, I was primarily metal and punk, and yeah, it just happened. After Abandon, I was playing with an indie band
Right.
called Highs, and again, it wasn't my thing. I was going through some stuff at that time, so I had to leave.
Yeah.
I started another band with some friends called Static Prevails. Then that, self-imploded. Unfortunately, that was really fun. We were best friends.
Yeah.
Just we couldn't get along, and then now the friendship is, great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But from there, I went to Texas King.
Right.
And so I was like basically slowly turning away from metal and
Yeah.
entering into like this rock world of drumming.
Yeah, and that's the reason why I asked, because it's been the same case for me. Like, played a whole bunch of my favorite albums growing up, but the bands that I joined, and I really was in one indie band too, was just metal music. Like, I played in a metal band called Deeply Faded.
Nice.
And was like, do you know what, what's his name? I can't remember his last name. I haven't seen the dude in almost a decade now. Ed Lucicola? Ed Lucci something. He's in St. Catharines.
Okay.
He makes a lot of plugins, but he also records
Oh.
metal bands and stuff. And
Right.
so back in, we're talking 2015 or 16, we recorded with him. We did like an EP, and then, actually no, we did the EP and the LP with him, now that I think about it. But it was very much just like, metal is where it's at.
Yes.
I was like, this is it.
Yeah.
And then, I don't know, like I remember there was a girl I was dating at the time. I dated her for 5.5 years. Which was a
Wow.
long time. And her
Yeah.
dad is a music producer. Like, he's worked with like Styx
Holy
and a
crap.
bunch of other stuff.
No
which was like
way.
awesome. And I was like, yeah, I'm so, ready for this band and stuff. He's like, I don't mean to burst the bubble, but he's like, you just need to see like the whole other world that's out there aside from just metal.
Right.
And I remember at that point I was like, fuck.
Yeah.
I was hoping to be Joey Jordison, man. Like, I
Yeah.
wanted to be like the guy, the metal guy.
Yeah, that's right, dude.
And then there's something that, I don't know about you, but for me, the click was like shit, like, it's gonna be a long ass road that isn't as guaranteed as any other ones. Or not even that they have a guarantee, but there's even less of a guarantee with like other genres. And it's not that you can't make it in metal. It's just that like, it really is a smaller portion of the pie with a lot of fish. Whereas, you just kind of have better chances with other genres and bigger pies, bigger slices of the pie. And it's like, it's not saying don't do it, it's not saying don't pursue it if it's really you.
Yeah.
But it's kind of like, there are some things that you have that like make or break. It's like you have this realization and then you're like, okay, maybe not. Like the pursuit that you thought you really had is kind of gone. Because you kind of get caught in that like the dream was like, oh, I'll just play Work Tour every single year. you know. And then it's like, oh, hey, 16-year-old kid, like that's not the case, you know. And you kind of have to like go around. And I remember too, like I was so into the Warped Tour metal scene. That's like all I listened to.
Right.
And my dad's like, you should explore like some other genres and stuff. And I'm like, fuck that shit.
Yeah.
That's noise. You know, it's the worst. Like this is where it's at.
Right.
And it's something
This
about
is
like
who I am.
literally this is the real me.
Yeah.
Pass me the white makeup, please. I need to do my makeup.
Yeah. In the corpse paint.
Just like I need to tame my hair down. You know?
Yeah.
Just like black skinny pants. Like you know the B movie scene where he's like going through all his clothing? Just
Yeah.
like every possible black article of clothing, just like fucking that's all you have.
That's
Yeah.
That's literally me.
Yeah, that is me.
Same, yeah. You know what's funny is like I had, you know, my dad would say the same thing. I remember when I was in high school, he was trying to get me into like the drum corps, like snare drumming, and now I really wish I did that because there's so, like that would have helped with metal for sure.
Oh,
All
yeah.
the single notes and double
That's guys
notes.
like Travis, right? That's actually what he wanted to do first before anything else.
Right.
He wanted to be like a marching band snare drum guy. you
Right.
know, which is like, to me it makes the most sense. Like when I like growing up in high school, I was playing like AE to like AA hockey, and it wasn't like career thing. It was just like it's a small town. You can kind of play in that league. You get smoked by everybody else, but
Yeah.
you can be on the team kind of thing. And where was I going with this train of thought? Yes, so the greatest skaters that we would like study were figure skaters,
Right.
especially as goalies.
Right.
All that lateral movement, just not being limited at all. It's like you need to learn how to figure skate. And I was like, I don't think I want to be in the NHL. I think I'm just gonna stay with music. But they're like, it's not hard. I'm like, that's fine. I don't want to figure skate. I'm like, it's cool. But like the snare corps is figure skating or orchestral or jazz, whatever you want to call it. Like it's like you really learn everything.
Right.
And then you do what you want with it.
Most metal, even at least for like in the this is German obviously, but
Yeah.
on the singing aspect, most metal vocalists that stand out have been classically trained.
Yep.
Totally, yeah.
There's like it's a surprising amount of them that have been trained in opera or just stage singing, solo singing.
Totally, yeah.
Right? And they do a genre that's completely not that. Right?
Yes. Oh, it's the complete opposite.
Yeah, but it's how the technical aspect of it, right? It's like it's super technical. Metal, I think, is probably one of the most technical, like
Yeah,
genres of
to me
music.
it's
Totally,
like jazz and metal, at least for guitar. Guitar is one of the things I always think about. But even drums too. Like jazz drummers are using all four limbs, going crazy, right? And then you get into like fast tempos, and then it's like ticka-tack, and it's just like nuts. But then you go and you listen to, bands like Pliny, like Troy Wright, or like Matt Garska and stuff like that. And it's like, man, those guys are playing like jazz licks, just not swung behind some distorted guitars, and that's metal music.
Yeah.
And there's so much of the two that's the same. It's like one's the angel, one's the devil, but they're still like as technically on par, with each other as anything else would be. And
Absolutely.
so when you finished up with metal, did you have like this like longing to play in metal bands still while you were playing other things, or was it kind of like, okay, I'm at peace with metal, I'm kind of done with this and I can kind of move on? Because that was the case for me.
Yeah.
Like once I left that band, I was like, I did that thing. Like I don't feel the need to like go back or whatever.
Right.
Do you have the same?
Yeah, I guess I could relate to it. I mean, when I was done with metal at that time, it was funny. I was listening to bands like Gaslight Anthem. So I would compare Gaslight to kind of like Texas King sound a little bit.
Right.
Big open hats, Crash.
Yeah.
Sort of stuff. So I was like leaning into it. I was like, oh, I really want to play this kind of stuff. Like I just want to play some good songs.
Yeah.
Now, and it's funny then once I got into a rock band like that, now
Yeah.
I listen to a lot of metal. And I wouldn't say I long to play it again, because now just what metal has done, when you take that big of a gap in metal and the way that metal has progressed,
Yeah.
it's like all the things you want to do, you can't do anymore. Because these guys are blast beating at like 200 BPMs, and that's the standard.
Yeah.
That's like them just like, oh yeah, I came up with this part. You know what I mean?
It's
Like
true.
back in the day, that was like the Lorna Shore guys.
Yeah.
That would have been pushing it back in the day. Like,
Yeah.
whoa, this guy's insane. Now this is standard.
Yeah.
You got Brand of Sacrifice doing crap
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah.
Not crap. I love that band.
Yeah.
Love that band. But Lorna Shore, like all this speed metal drumming that came from like Demu.
Yeah.
Like that's how I heard the blast beat. Now it's in all this American metal.
Yeah.
And that's just the standard. The breakdowns are insane now. Like
Mm.
that was my biggest challenge with breakdowns.
You see, the biggest for me was the blast beats.
Blast beats.
Like not flamming the hands, even though they're separate notes, but not getting like tika 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 kind of thing.
Yeah.
And just double kick shit.
Yeah.
Like I don't know what it is, man. There's something that like when I'm trying to play a phrase with the two kicks, it's like I can't get it. But then if I put that on the hi hat, like all day, you know, like I was jamming. I wanted to do a YouTube cover of Ouroboros by Gojira, like so bad.
wow.
And I was like, I fucking love this song. And I'm like trying to get it, and I'm like, okay, it's kind of there. And I'm like, maybe I could do, what's it called? Toxic Garbage Island. It's like, maybe I could do that. And then I watched a live video of it, and he's leading one of the phrases with his left foot.
Wow.
And I'm like,
No.
I think I'm just gonna do a cover of Kings of Leon.
Bro, that drummer's actually really insane.
He's so good, and he sings. We were listening to him on the way here, and I was like, it's so wild that all the harmonies are the drummer.
Yeah.
Like he's like doing this shit, and he's got the tambourine, the cowbell, and he's like ooh, and he's like trying to sing and shit.
He's a
It's wild.
fantastic drummer. Yeah.
Let's take it a little bit and like, okay, double kicks.
Mhm.
If you think of like the double kick drummer, like the god, or like the person that's really up there for you, who would it be?
Oh, first that comes to mind is Joey Jordison.
Okay.
Because of Slipknot 1, just like
Right.
the fact that none of that quantizing was there, you know, the kick sound wasn't super full, and just the way he smacks that kick drum,
That's a good point.
you know. But there's like,
Yeah.
there's a guy from Lamb of God,
Chris Adler.
Chris Adler, you know.
He was a bit slower. He was
slower,
groovier
just
with
like
his
tight.
kicks.
Dave Lombardo,
Yep.
you know, is another one.
Hellhammer. Questionable guy, but unreal player.
Mhm.
Had the fastest at that. Well, there was another band. At one point, there was this really popular thing in metalcore, deathcore music in like 2006, where you would have a breakdown, simple pattern going chun chun, chun 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 chun.
Yeah.
And then the fastest double kick you could imagine. There was this band called As Blood Runs Black, and they had a breakdown that just was. And at that time, that was the fastest thing in the world.
Yeah.
And then another band, Through the Eyes of the Dead, came out, and they were even faster. And the breakdown part was going Jun Jun, Jun 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 Jun, Jun 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 Jun, and he just.
Bruh.
It's like,
You gotta get those kick drum pedals that for one hit it's like two.
Yes.
You do that on two kick drums,
Yeah.
and you're like eighth notes turn into 16th, like fuck yeah, dude.
yeah, totally. But now, since the heel toe thing is so popular and there's lessons everywhere
Yeah.
on YouTube, now again, that's the standard
Yeah, it is the standard. It's true.
of metal drumming.
It's so true.
See, for me, like, I don't know, like, I don't know, like, I know some drummers, I'm not really, like, obviously I'm not in the industry.
Mm.
I'm a listener, more, I'm not a player.
Yeah.
What's the name of this guy? The August Burns Red.
Oh, Matt Grimer.
Yeah, Grinder, yeah.
Every time
Him
I
and
listen
Adam
to
Gray.
any of their records, I'm just blown away. I'm
Mm.
like, how the fuck do you do this?
He's another one of those guys that's like, I would put him up there with the Joey. Like, he has
Yeah.
natural sounding drums. Yeah, there's samples in those records, but
The samples in the quality of the sound, but like they're not quantized. Like you can hear them play riffs. Like there's one tune I can't remember. It's kind of got this like rodeo feel to it. I can't remember the name of the song. It was like one of the big releases in like 2017. Because I remember seeing them at Warped Tour and they played it. I can't remember for the life of me right now. But I was like,
Is it like a popular song?
yeah, it's one of the more recent.
Like Mariana's Trench? is
No,
like
that's
the most
that's
popular.
like
That's from the
pre.
previous.
Yeah, that's like pre 2015.
Yeah.
But yeah, like I heard that song come out and I was like, my God, like he bit the bullet and like fucking line up that note right to the bar, you know. And I was like, motherfucker. And then I was like, because I was like, it was so into just that like allegory of the cave metal world. This is like the only genre that exists in human history. Like I don't care about anything else except metal.
right, yeah.
You know, and then I heard that and I was like, fuck, it was just being an idiot, essentially. And then I saw them play the stage at Warped Tour and I was like, I was like, holy shit, that's real! I'm like,
Yeah,
oh
yeah.
my god, that's amazing! And then like we came back from Warped Tour, and the next morning I was like, okay, I gotta practice it really slow so I can get it really fast. And then I
Right.
couldn't get it slow, and I was like, fuck this. Brothers album, Black Keys, here I come.
Right, yeah, totally. Great drummer.
Stellar drummer, and Adam Gray too is a guy that's
Oh,
pretty underrated in my book.
yeah.
You know?
I'm surprised he hasn't got a gig yet. Or I don't know if he's even looking. I can't
Yeah.
speculate on what he's doing.
Well, he was playing with a band. They had Texas in their name too.
Texas in July.
Texas in July, yeah.
Yeah.
Amazing.
That was another band that Three Crowns who opened for them
Mm.
quite
Nice.
often because they were always in KW for whatever reason.
Right,
They
right.
had built a following up here, so they were
Yeah.
always here.
That band was rad too, and I remember seeing like all the because I think he was Matt Griner's tech for a bit.
Yeah,
Maybe
there's
that's
a sort of
the drums.
connection there, yeah.
Yeah. When they had like the same kit set up, and then I remember they made a drum set together. Like they built shells, and it was like all these like smaller pieces of wood that then built the shell, and the kit actually looked fantastic. They did like, I think they did 1 or 2 sets. It was like kick toms and then like a plethora of snares
Wow.
and stuff,
Yeah.
which was rad.
Cool.
You know what too? Anderson .Paak just released a new line of signature snares.
Oh,
with
really?
Ludwig, called the Pee-wees, I think they're called.
Okay.
They're like chrome hardware, this like white and like peach colored kind of design, but it's like I'm not sure if they're like a wood or metal snare,
Okay.
but it's like 14 by 5.5 and 14 by 6.5 or something. And the promo for it is so funny. They're doing like sound check, and it's kind of like a 70s like recording booth,
Yep.
and they've got like everything old school, like even the headphones and stuff, and they're like, all right, can we check that main snare? And he hits it, and then he gets like smacked across the face, and his headphones fly off, and he's like, he's like discombobulated. He's like, can I get that snare again? And then Anderson goes like, ta ta. It's like pop pop. Like,
Oh, that's awesome.
and then he comes in as his grandmother, and he's like, Anderson, I got your cashew cookies. He's like, come take a break. And he's like, we're just sound checking the snare. And then the grandma's like, okay, let me listen. And then he puts it on, and he starts smacking it, and she's like, oh shit, and she's like so flustered by it.
That's awesome.
It's such a great. I'm like, this is one of the best snare promos like I've ever had.
Good
Speaking
to
of
see that.
snares, like Melvin, you play with a huge snare.
That's a big one, yeah.
When the first time I saw you play at the Horseshoe, I don't even think they mic'd the snare, and if anything, it was like 5 inches away.
Like how big is the snare?
It's 14 by 8.
It's a middle tone.
Yeah, it's made. It's a middle tone. Yeah, it's made by Jordy Goche from YC Drum Company.
Legend,
The-
absolute legend.
Yeah, absolute legend.
What a guy.
It's maple, 10-ply, and man, the influence on it was I saw Dan Trapp to bring Census Fail back into it. He had an 8-inch depth snare, and it sounded glorious, especially on the Still Searching album. And I've always loved that snare sound, so that's kind of what I was trying to go for. Now I'm looking for more of like a Motown sounding snare. I don't want that big. But I still love that snare.
Yeah, it's fantastic. It's funny. I've been looking at the Ludwig Superphonic, like I think one of the most bread and butter snares that there are. You know,
So like, is it steel?
steel, yeah,
Yeah.
14 by 5.5 or 6 or something
Yeah,
like that.
see?
But it's like we have a mutual friend. His name is Sam Cohen. He's actually been on this podcast before. He's a friend of mine, coworker. He's a recording artist. He has a project called Glitter Party,
Okay.
and he plays like all the instruments. He actually just released a new song. So everybody listen to the podcast.
Nice.
Go listen to Swimming in Red. It's a beautiful song.
Nice.
And he was actually the one that put me on the Superphonic.
Okay.
And then just saw so many videos of it, and it like there's so much that you can do with that kind of snare.
Yeah.
Like it's super super versatile, and it's on so many recordings. It's wild, and a lot of people know about it, but it's not like when you talk about like the DW Collector Series or the Yamaha like recording customs, where it's like it's pushed so often.
Yeah.
It's I feel like people are just like, oh, I know of it kind of thing, but it's the next one for my
Totally.
arsenal.
Yeah, man. Yeah.
Absolutely.
That's good.
The last time I saw your snare, you fell out of a golf cart.
You briefly mentioned this story. Tell me the whole story.
That's a fun story.
Yeah.
Because we were just being dicks to Colin. Because he's like, he's just looking around and we're just passing through a bunch of security. And there's some lovely ladies sitting on the side there.
Yeah.
And we're on like this golf cart. And we're in the Hillside Festival in Guelph. So thank you guys for having me out that day.
Yeah, no problem.
That was a lot of fun.
It was a journey that day.
But it's literally in a conservation area, like woods. There people camp and there's stages, and it's like it was a lot bigger than I ever thought it would be because I've never been before. But you know, Texas King got there in a bus, and then the group had to split. Some of them took a boat to the backstage, like over a lake. It was some next level shit. And then the rest of us took golf carts into the backstage area where the artists were. And like Colin's just chilling, and you know, like he's like looking back, and then I saw like these real pretty ladies on the side. So I'm like, oh cool. And then Colin's turning back, so me and Melvin was like, what are you looking at, Colin? Like, what are you looking at? He's like, I'm just booking that, and he points at the snare, and I was like, you're booking that or the girls Colin? Like, which one? We're just like being goofy about it. And then no one's like, the snare is like loose or whatever. Like, it's like in this case, and it's like on top of everything else, and then the guy makes like a sharp left turn, and the snare case goes flying.
And this is that YC snare?
That YC
You know
snare.
what though? I bet you that snare is built like a Nokia phone, dude. Like
No, yeah,
like,
oh, it is,
so
man.
sturdy.
Yeah.
like and we were just like talking about it. You like, you know, casually just like stop the car, like go and pick it up, kind of check the box.
Yeah.
I was like, no, we're good.
Wait,
And
you
then-
were driving?
No, he was in the back with me.
Oh, okay. I thought you
Colin
said
was in
this
the
guy.
front
I was
seat,
like,
and then
wow.
whoever personnel from the festival was
Right.
And then he's like, well, this is what happens when we try to make fun of Colin. We were just making fun of him. He's like, no, it's the snare. I was looking at the snare and just freaking it just goes flying.
Yeah, deserved it.
Yeah. It's like, yeah, this is instant karma.
That was funny.
So when you were down in the UK,
Mm.
what was some of the like wildest things that you saw? Like whether it be like people that are just like off the rockers, or one of my favorite things is like the comparison from like east to west. Like what are the guys' names? I can't remember what they're called, but they have like American celebrities try British snacks, or like British McDonald's and stuff.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean? Like those type of things. I don't know why they always
It's
fascinate
like
me.
Red and Link type stuff.
Yeah, exactly. Those guys are goated. I fucking love Red and Lake so much.
Okay.
Do you remember the Good Mythical Morning?
No.
Ever seen those?
No.
Oh, you gotta watch them.
Okay.
Yeah, they're great.
Okay.
They have kids now, and I think it's the Brett or Link. Which one's the not like Thor looking guy? Which one is that? Link.
I think it's Link.
Link. So his son
Okay.
is like almost too mature for his age, and he just has these clapbacks that you don't expect out of like a 10-year-old kid. It's fun. Anyway, that's a random tangent.
Okay.
So what are some of the things that that you saw while you were down in the UK?
Okay. I don't know. That one was so long ago. I can't, remember a lot. From that, trying to think what was wild about it. I mean, I just think the whole experience was wild.
Mm-hmm.
Just us being so young and learning how to really tour. We had no etiquette at that time.
Right.
The wild things. We went to like a Warhammer museum one day.
What is that?
It's it's like a kind of like a nerdy game, like Dungeons and Dragons sort of thing.
Okay, yeah.
None of us like played it or were into that stuff
Yeah.
at the time, but the driver was into it, and he's like, "Oh, we could go here to spend the day." But one thing that was trippy it was like the bag of chips. You would open it, and then there'd be a bunch of little bags of chips in it. So you couldn't just like eat a bunch of chips. You would have to keep opening up smaller bags of chips.
What?
Yeah.
I've never heard of this before.
You know what? When I was down in the Dominican, the brand Halls are like that too. So you buy a bag of Halls, and then there's like single packaged Halls, and not even wrapped. It's like smaller like bonbon bags for the Halls, and then you're like if you give up 4, you just have like all these little tiny packets everywhere.
Right.
What is the deal?
I don't know.
Just use the serviette, the little paper.
Yeah.
I mean, and then we have bag milk in Ontario.
That's trippy for people. Yeah.
I was like the first when I came here, I was just like, what the fuck is this? Like,
That must be so
I
weird.
come from Texas, ironically enough. Like I grew up in Houston, and it's cardboard for everything. Like
Yeah.
milk, juice, like coffee. like
Oh,
everything.
crazy. I didn't know you were from Texas.
Yeah, so I grew up in Texas. I'm Venezuelan. I was born and raised there, and then my family moved to Texas when I was around 13.
Oh, crazy.
Yeah, so I did most of my high school there, middle school, high school, and I came here in my grade 12. So like 2012, actually.
Wow, Texas to Cambridge, Ontario.
Yeah,
Hell
So
yeah.
I
random.
lived in Oakville actually for 10 years. Cambridge thing is recent. I moved last year.
Oh,
Yeah.
Yeah,
okay.
last year, yeah. But yeah, it's when you look at the world map, it's like I was born here and I'm currently like over here.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm
it's
like,
like,
what the fuck?
That's
And
crazy.
then there's friends of mine that are like, one of my best friends, his name's Alex. He's born in the Ukraine, but his dad is some sort of maritime engineer. So
Right.
he worked in ports all over the world. So like when he was 5, he moved to Finland. When he was like 12, he moved to Shanghai.
Oh,
Damn.
And did like all of his high school there. And then when he like finished high school, they came to Canada
Mhm.
because he was working here. Like his dad was working here. He went to like university here, and now he's in Dubai. He left Ontario to go to BC for a bit.
Right.
Wow.
So he was working in Victoria, and now he's in Dubai. I'm like, these people, like, this is their lifestyle. That's how they live.
Crazy.
There's always somebody that just tops whatever story you have.
Yeah.
You like.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, like in the States, going back to that, it's like everything is either plastic or cardboard.
Mm.
And then Canada has like, at least to Americans, Canada has this like, people have this vision of Canada of being like very green,
Yeah.
right? Like very environmentally like conscious.
Being conscious.
And then I come and just go to the supermarket. I said, "Where's the milk?" And it was like, "Here's a bag." It
Yeah,
has
yeah.
3 fucking small bags in it. I'm
Yeah.
like, what the fuck is this?
Yeah.
How am I gonna pour this?
That must be the. So you have to get a separate container, but that must be like the trippiest thing to just be sitting there with.
Yeah, I'm like, why do I have to
Yeah,
buy
like,
a
what?
freaking carafe-looking thing for a bag of milk? Like, this is gonna spoil. Like, how is this gonna work? Do I open these with scissors? Like, do I use my teeth?
Yeah, that's what I would do.
Yeah, and then-
No, but it's such a thing though. Like the nipple of the milk bag.
Yeah.
Like there's some people that cut it too small, and you're sitting there for 10 days, like just trying to pour.
Yeah,
The
cereal.
best part
And
is,
then too
it's
big.
an Ontario thing.
Yeah, it's true.
There's no
It's
bag
nice.
milk in Alberta or BC
I wonder
or on
what
the East Coast. Like, I've traveled a lot of Canada.
Yeah, yeah.
And it's Ontario.
Well, that's what I was gonna ask because
It's
we've
great.
talked about it before, but how much of Canada have you seen?
Quite a bit. Places I haven't been, obviously the territories. A
Yeah.
little too expensive.
Yeah.
And cold.
I've been to BC. I lived quite a bit in Alberta. I was there for a couple months.
Mhm.
I was in
Wow.
BC for a month or 2 as well, just for work. My friends and I traveled briefly to the East Coast. Pretty much did every province except for Newfoundland and PEI because we couldn't. It was something at the time we couldn't cross the bridge. Quebec. I have family in Quebec, so
Oh, nice.
Montreal. So like I've been around that area too. And for work, I traveled a lot. I did basically pop-up shops
Fun.
in like every small town in Ontario, from Windsor all the way to North Bay.
Wow.
So, yeah, so I've been, in quite a lot of few towns, like small towns in Ontario.
Yeah.
Because people are like, oh, you're not going to know where that's from. Just like, just say it. They say something like, oh, Belleville. I'm like, yeah, this is like right here. It's on the way to Kingston. You know?
Right. Yeah.
They're
Yeah.
like, how did you know? I'm like, I don't know. I can look at a map. I also probably worked there at some point.
Yeah. Right.
But yeah, it's really fun. Like it's a lot of fun to know where you are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm glad I've traveled to Canada like quite a bit because it's a fun country. It's like expensive to travel in Canada though.
Yeah.
I understand why people choose to go to Dominican or Cuba or Mexico for
Yeah.
the same amount of money for like an all inclusive for the same amount of
True.
money that is
Yeah.
one flight to Vancouver.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's true.
So Canada, get your shit together. Let people travel your country.
Well, they're doing it. They're trying their best with Swoop.
Yeah,
Yeah.
or like Flair.
Yeah.
Flares.
They're like cheap airlines.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay. True.
$100.
So they're like the most
$150
Yeah.
ticket.
An airline is called Swoop.
Yeah,
Yeah, man, you should check it out.
That
Like,
is
that's
alarming.
yeah. That's how I flew to BC the first time.
That is
Out of
alarming.
Hamilton.
I don't. I kind of just imagine like the cartoon airplane, like doing that, and it's like we'll get there eventually.
Yeah.
Like holy shit.
I mean, there are pros and cons. The cheap, like the tickets are super cheap, but it's completely unreliable. Like you
Yeah.
pay for everything else, and sometimes they just arbitrarily cancel flights. and shit
Especially
like that.
now,
Yeah.
after COVID. It was.
Yeah.
I thought it was chill before that. Like if we ever had to go to BC,
Yeah.
it was easy. But yeah, after COVID, I know Jordan had lots of problems, flights getting home.
Wow.
because he was living out there at one point. But yeah.
Yeah. How much? Well, you've traveled quite a bit, obviously, with your previous bands with Texas King. What's like your favorite part of Canada that's not where you live?
Oh, I do love being in BC.
Mm.
There seems to be a mood shift once we get out of Alberta and start going down to BC. Everyone in the band perks up a little bit.
Mm.
But my favorite spot is definitely Tofino.
Oh,
Where's that?
That is on the island.
It's the easternmost point in the westernmost town in Canada.
Mm.
When I was 25, this was like my first session ever. My buddy hit me up. He lives out there. He was originally from Cambridge, and he was like, "Hey, can you come to Tofino or Vancouver to record this thing?" And I was like, "Absolutely." So we paid for my flight, flew to Vancouver. He picked me up, took me on the ferry, got onto the island,
Wow.
drove to Tofino, and I stayed with him for 3 days.
Nice.
But we went to this. It's not really a shack, but it was picture a shed
Mhm.
built and then a trailer attached to it. So in the shed was a drum kit,
Yeah.
a very crappy drum kit,
Mm.
and then a guitar amp, and that's what Luke played. And then we wrote 3 songs together, or he
Nice.
had his songs written, and
Yeah.
then we went to Vancouver to record at Rain City.
Nice.
So that's probably one of my favorite memories of music.
Nice.
Taking a ferry
going-
sounds rad.
Yeah.
I can imagine just like holding the railing, just being like.
It's also another world. Like you're in Vancouver, you're
Yeah.
still very much a city.
Yeah.
It's a city, right?
Yeah.
Beautiful views, but it's still a city. As soon as you cross the little channel to the island, you're in another world.
It's
Yeah. One of my best friends in the world, his name's Justin. He is now in Vancouver Fire, but he did a lot of time in Comox,
Mhm.
BC, just maybe like 2 hours north of Victoria. So it's like right just after Nanaimo,
Okay.
that area,
Yeah.
right? And like his lifestyle, just was seeing him like obviously we grew up together. Like he's been my friend for like 10 years now. So like, you know, we met in like 2012, 2013, and then obviously like we all have lives and, you know, move out and move away and come back and whatever.
Yeah.
But I've never seen that shift in somebody like so deeply when it's
Mm.
like when you go down to that area. It's like he loves it so much up there.
Wow.
Right? Yeah, and
That's
it's
awesome.
it's another world. Like if you ever have the chance to go visit the island, go.
Mm.
Yeah.
One of my best favorite times was Tofino. We actually took the long way there. So
Did
from,
you?
Yeah, so Victoria and Tofino, there's only one route in or out, okay?
Right.
Like there's no other alternative way to go.
Mhm.
It's 3 hours. But there's another alternative route where you go towards like the western coast of the island.
Right.
So you kind of go like in a figure 8 or like an S,
Mm.
right? Instead of going north and then west, you're
can
going west, north, then east, all the way across the island, and then west again,
Wow.
Oh.
right? So we basically stopped. We did like a 10-hour trip out of it.
Wow.
So we started driving, stopped in like random national parks, on the Fuca National Park, like beautiful scenes, beautiful sights, just like enjoying nature at that point.
Yeah. Yeah.
Took us 10 hours. So we left at maybe like 8 in the morning. We got to Tofino at like 9 p.m., 10
Mhm.
p.m.
Wow.
But it was like the best day ever.
Yeah.
Because you stop everywhere. We saw like grizzly bears on the road, like
Dope.
shit like you just like wouldn't even
You-
think about.
You lived, man. Holy
Yeah.
shit.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
And then obviously like I was taking photos then obviously, but it wasn't like now. Like now it's almost strictly music for me.
Yeah.
There I was just like kind of just trying to find what I like to shoot. So I was doing a lot of like Ansel Adams type like black and white
Mm.
like nature stuff, and
Right.
that was like one of my most productive trips ever as an artist.
Yeah.
Because there's so much to see, like you can find beauty in all of it. Right?
Yeah.
Learned lots about yourself out there.
Oh yeah.
And yeah.
And it was a relatively short time, right?
Yeah.
Like that group of friends, we were just with them actually like yesterday.
Right. Right.
So it's the same group of friends I do everything with.
Yeah.
Same thing with the thing about the Olympics and everything. Those guys.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
But that was like one of the most fun trips I ever had.
Yeah.
Yeah. Doesn't take long for Tofino to make an impression on you.
Yeah.
Mm.
A lasting one.
When did you find your love for black and white photos?
Good question. I don't think we've talked about that specifically, so that's a good question.
Mhm.
Just doing my job.
I just do.
When I was trying to figure out a camera, like every photographer's fail-safe, especially in music, is I can't get the color that I want, I'm gonna put it black and white because then I don't have to worry about it.
Yeah.
Right? But then, I started watching videos of like photographers that like kind of like the OGs, like the Beatles of photographers, like let's put it that way.
Yeah.
People from the 20th century making their own like styles and everything. And Ansel Adams really rang a bell with me.
Right.
Because it's all nature photography from the West Coast mostly.
Mm.
So it's all the big mountains, the snow, the pines and everything, the trees, but it's all
Right.
black and white because at the time, that was the film you got. There was no other film. Like
Well-
it was just black and white, right?
Mhm.
So that kind of rang a bell with me, and I started doing it because I really liked it. And then I started developing my own style with it. Like, I'm very contrasty. I like super white whites and super dark blacks,
Yeah.
right? So like a lot of people are the opposite. They just like something that's very pale.
Mm.
So it's like very much grayscale instead
Yeah.
of like a severe black and white style.
Right. Right.
And believe it or not, color has a lot to do with the black and white tones you get in a photo. So say you have a red, like you have like one of those images of like a stage light and it's all red.
Mhm.
That black and white image is going to look differently if that stage light was blue. Or if
Really?
it was
Whoa.
green, right? It's noticeable, like you can, from a trained eye, like you
Yeah.
notice it right away.
Right.
But
Right.
then if you point it out to people that don't know, they're like, oh shit, I see
you
that,
see
right? Or you
Yeah.
see the comparison, right?
Whoa.
So I thought like, and also like for me, like when I started doing it, used to do it seasonally.
Mm.
So like at this time I will change to black and white, like winter I will stay black and white and then summer I'll do color because it's
Yeah.
a lot easier, You can have like, I don't know if you've ever taken a picture in the snow, but it's like, it's all dirty and shit. like,
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
brown, it's dark, it's just like, looks weird if you're in color.
Totally.
It just looks a lot cleaner if it's black and white. right?
Yeah,
for sure.
Anything that's winter is cleaner.
Right.
So I started doing that, and then I was like, fuck it, I really like black and white, so that's gonna be my style,
Mm.
Huh.
right? I also like what it takes away. So a lot of
Yeah.
people's like, the color sometimes makes the image. I'm like, yeah, it does, but if you're trying to focus on the subject,
Yeah.
might as well make it colorless, right?
Yeah.
Unless it really like depicts the mood of it, right?
Yeah.
I feel like, in my opinion, like if I see a black and white image, I'm focusing on what's going on in the image rather than how it looks.
It's funny, that immediately reminds me of this like songwriting class that John Mayer had at Berkeley, where he was talking about like there's so many great songs out there that the production of this, the production of that, this studio, this reverb plate and all that, all added stuff, which, is important, but he's like, some of the greatest songs are something that you can just sit down with just the piano and the songwriter, or just a guitar and the songwriter, and it'll still achieve that same effect to the listener as the studio version. And in a way that kind of reminds me of like taking away all of those added layers to a photo and just stripping it down to like its most binary properties, like black and white, like the
Yeah.
most simple 1 and 0.
Well,
Crazy.
my favorite
Yeah.
example for that is actually probably the most iconic photo in rock and roll. Is it the Clash?
Yes.
London
London
Calling.
Calling.
Yeah, London Calling.
Yeah.
That photo is technically wrong. Like everything's wrong. It's out of focus. The shutter is too long, so like you can see the motion blur. Like even like the I forget her name. I'm so sorry, but she like basically says like, yeah, like that was a fluke. Like I don't really like that photo, but it's what made me, right?
Wow.
I'm like you stop being
Jump
so
and take
fucking
it. There's so
pretentious,
many of
please.
those.
Like,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Everybody loves the photo.
Yeah.
You're just being an artist right now. We get it.
It's
But
not my
really
best
lame.
work.
it's not the
but
best
it
work,
is.
but I'm like, just anyway. It's
Yeah.
the most iconic photo of rock and roll, but it's the subject that makes the photo, right?
Right.
It's the guy with the anger and frustration. He probably had a bad gig, or he probably had something with his fingers going on. He was playing and he didn't feel anything.
Yeah.
It could have been anything, right?
Yeah.
And he decides to smash that bass guitar into the ground,
Right.
and it's just the moment of him just like launching,
Yeah.
and that's literally punk rock.
Yeah.
Like,
That is
if-
punk rock.
like you look at punk rock, you look at that image,
Yeah.
right?
Because it's not nicely done. It's not nicely presented.
But it's raw.
There
It's
is
unedited.
such a strong element of fluke in
Yeah.
it, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But it's almost like the energy and the emotion of what's going on comes through, and it doesn't matter what type of individual that you are looking or listening to it, you're immediately feeling like that emotion. You know,
Yeah.
like it's funny. Yesterday I was teaching some of my students, and I had a new guitar student, and he was like, the lesson prior was with my friend Sam, who filled in for me, and he taught him Smoke on the Water, and he's like, I know I'm playing the right notes, and he's older, he's like 12 or 13. He's like, I know I'm playing the right notes, but it doesn't sound like Smoke on the Water. I don't know why. And I was like, well, we're gonna just fix on your timing a bit, but don't try and get it absolutely perfect like the song in terms of like tempo and that stuff. Like try and make it your own thing, and you'll find that sense of like satisfaction or gratitude for it, which is two properties that I think are so important in punk rock, especially like the self-satisfaction and gratitude of what you're making. You know, because like some of my favorite like music is super simple and isn't like super on the beat, but it's just the feel of it is like I'm feeling exactly what you're putting down.
Yeah.
You know, and that to me is so important.
Totally. There's a song that all the four of us love, and we always come back to it when we're trying to capture a certain feeling. It was Quiet Little Voices by We Were Promised Jetpacks.
Oh yeah.
I don't know that tune. I gotta listen to it.
These kids were 16 when they wrote it.
Really?
And just when that chorus opens up, listen to the ride cymbal. It's like the ride cymbal takes over the mix, and you just feel like you're in the ocean listening to it. But it's just this most energetic chorus you ever think. Why the was that? Simple song, and just
And that's one of the beauties of it too, right? It's like translating energy through whatever the medium is, a photo, a track, a live performance. You know, those to me, it's like there's like learning music or photography or any sort of creative thing that it's like you have to learn technique. Like it's what's gonna free you to do these things that you want to do. But when you capture the most human moments in any of it, right? Like I'm a big fan of like Van Gogh, but I wouldn't say that I'm a fan of like art in general. But there's something about like Van Gogh's paintings that I'm always like,
close to you.
that's the shit right there.
Yeah,
This is
Quite
rad.
an interesting story with Van Gogh, because he was mentally ill, as everybody knows.
Yeah.
But his way of therapy was painting.
It was his art.
Yeah, was his art. And there's there's art therapy. Like people go to school to study art therapy.
You're right.
Yeah.
Right? And it's like you show it through art.
Yeah.
Right? And he was kind of like the unknown pioneer of art therapy because when he spent time in an asylum, and that was like his most productive period.
Right.
Was when he was locked in
Just
a
a
room,
canvas.
and all he could do was paint.
Yeah.
Right.
Right. Wow.
So, and like Van Gogh is basically you're looking at what he was feeling or thinking about, or just like an outlet.
Yeah.
So a lot of people have outlets, right? Like like some people sleep, some people draw.
Yeah.
Some
You know
people
what I
sleep.
mean?
Some people sleep.
Yeah, I know. I personally don't. I don't know what that is.
What
But-
is sleep?
Yeah.
No idea. Zero clue. But like some people draw, some people go out for walks, right?
Yeah.
Or some people play music.
Yeah.
Some people photograph.
Yeah, that's my outlet.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
But like his was painting, and then all of a sudden he's gone, he's dead, and then all of a sudden all of these paintings are just laying around and take notice. And
Yeah.
that's the thing about an artist, is like it's always when you're dead.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's always when you're dead.
That is like the way to well, it's like Troy, when his mom says to him, like, if you go fight in this war, you'll be remembered forever.
Yeah,
Right.
Because he dies in it.
Mm.
Who are the most legendary drummers? John Bonham,
Yeah.
now Neil Peart,
Yeah.
all died.
It's true.
Keith Moon,
Keith Moon, Ginger Baker.
Ginger Baker,
You know.
legends now.
Yeah.
But John Bonham, he died in his prime.
Joey Jordison and the Rev.
Joey
Yes,
Jordison,
and
the Rev.
Yeah.
Oh my, that one bumped me out when Rev
Dude,
passed.
Yeah.
Taylor Hawkins.
Taylor
Oh my-
Hawkins. I was about to say Taylor Hawkins and Joey Jordison were the two, because that's when I like the appreciation had already built up, especially Joey Jordison, and I was like, "Fuck, dude!" I was like, "That really sucks." Like
That
was
was
one
a
of the,
bummer.
like,
The Rev for me
really-
particularly hurt.
Rev
Yeah.
sucked, man.
Because he was a front man, and that's
Oh,
the
dude.
best part of it.
A Little Piece
Yeah.
of Heaven, man. His
Oh,
dude,
Like,
shit.
nobody talks about that.
That's
song.
such
I
a
love
great
that
song.
Oh.
That whole album.
1,000,000,000 times. Like
Yeah.
it's so good, dude. With
That
the
whole album. It's him.
Yeah.
Like, fuck.
and it's true
It's
though.
him. He's the one leading. Like he's the one be like playing the groove. and we're gonna work around this group. It's not the opposite.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I remember when that album came out, I was like, there was a shift in his drumming.
Right.
It's like, why did he go backwards? Because I thought he should get more advanced.
Right.
Yeah.
But he actually like calmed down and started writing songs. Like, you know, Afterlife, he wrote that song.
Yeah.
Really?
And you
I
know
didn't know that.
what was the lyrics in the chorus? It's actually really sad because that song is about somebody who felt, somebody who passed
Mhm.
but wanted to go back to Earth because they still had things to do.
Right.
That's what that song is about.
Yeah.
And then he died a year later.
Fuck. There's so many of those fucking creepy things, those like, just like almost there moments in music history that I'm like, bro, this is, well, like the first thing that always comes to mind is Mac Miller. Like he had the album Swimming, you know, after doing The Divine Feminine, and I think it was like, I want to say maximum 3 days or maybe even a week like after he released, or maybe it was even the same day. Like it was something so close to the release of this album that he had called Swimming, and the whole idea was like, it's almost like you're drowning kind of thing. And it's now he's at least swimming. You know, he's not necessarily on land or all dried up or whatever to continue that metaphor. He's more so just like treading water kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
But the thing is, it was a conceptual like double LP. So it was Swimming, and then the posthumous album that came out was Circles. The idea was that it was swimming in circles. And I think it's something like the last song in Swimming ends on a dominant chord. So then that chord then resolves at the beginning of Circles. And when you know that and you hear that, bro, you become the Fantano, like, you know, Michael Jordan crying meme. You're like, oh, my fucking heart. Like, it's
That is so sick.
But it's so genius, and it's like, the fact that, like, he dies when Swimming comes out, and then there's the posthumous release of it, so it's like this double whammy.
Mm-hmm.
And you're like, bro. And I know something like that is like, I don't want to say I know, but I feel strongly that there's something there with, like, Taylor Hawkins passing and the Foo Fighters, that they were just like on something, you know? Because even Joey Jordison was working, I can't remember the name of the band, so I want to say something Martyr, but he was working on tunes with them too.
Right.
And then he passed, and then they're like, fucking, what do we do?
Wow.
You know? It's so wild, like, it's unfortunate how often that happens, you know, especially in music.
Right. Man, to go back to your point about like that brilliance of the Mac Miller, the two albums, the dominant chord and resolving. It's like, man, that's like the brilliant thing about film score.
Yes.
Is they have those little Easter eggs, like, you know, a character has a theme. But there's this other podcast that I listen to called the Soundtrack Show, and this guy breaks down
That's cool.
film score. And
Yeah.
it's like, he has one episode called Great Melodies Tell Great Stories, and he goes through the Star Wars theme.
Right.
So, and he like kind of tells the story of Star Wars in the notes. He's like,
Right.
you got your first and then the fifth.
Yeah.
That's the pillars of music. Dun, dun,
Your tones,
dun, 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 dun. That's, he's like, that dun, 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 is the gathering of strength
Right.
for the big payoff, which is that big final note. Repeat it. Dun, 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 resolves the piece.
Wow.
It's like, you can see the Star Wars movie in the melody.
Wow.
And then he talks about Indiana Jones. He's like,
Oh yeah, but that's
dun,
all. That's,
dun, dun,
Dude,
dun.
that just broke my brain. What the fuck?
that's all John Williams, no?
That's John Williams.
Yeah.
This is the most this is off topic kind of.
Yeah.
This is the most random trivia fact I know. You know the band Toto, right?
Yes! I love Toto!
The lead vocalist is the son
Yes,
of John
he
Williams.
is! Yes, he is!
That blew my mind.
Are you kidding?
I'm like,
No
are you
wonder.
fucked? Like, this can't be true. Like,
Totally,
yeah.
dude. Yes.
And I was like, what? No.
Did you hear that? Did you listen to the Soundtrack Show podcast? Or did you hear that fact somewhere else?
No, I heard it. So I
Okay.
forget where I heard it.
Oh.
Well, I was like, I do all these, like, I go on these tangents in my brain where I, like, find a topic that somebody mentions something, and probably my parents mentioned Toto. So I went and fucking Wikipedia that shit.
Yeah.
And I spent 3 hours reading about Toto.
Totally.
And then it's like, something Williams, I forget his name. And he's like, and then, like, you click on him, and it's like, lead singer for Toto. Related acts, John Williams. I'm like, what the fuck? And then I keep reading.
The best rabbit hole to go into.
Yeah.
I keep reading, and I was like, yeah, like John Williams is this guy's dad. And I'm like, what the fuck?
Yeah. It makes sense.
Yeah.
Toto makes a lot more sense.
That moment happened for me with Jay Weinberg and Max Weinberg.
Oh,
that one's
right.
way better. What the fuck?
Yeah.
That's
I mean, I
crazy.
love them, but that's still fucking wild.
Imagine if
Dude,
I feel like Jay
his
and
son
Max.
plays over his dad.
It's so wild because there's a picture of, I think it's like the Iowa tour, and
Okay.
Max Weinberg is hanging out with like Jim Root backstage, like the guitarist. And there's a young Jay Weinberg. Yeah, it was the Iowa tour because he's wearing the Iowa like Corey Taylor mask.
Okay.
And he's like so tiny. and Jay Weinberg looked at least really fucking tall. And they're like chatting and shit. And he's just standing there like a kid, like from like, Monsters Inc.
Wow.
And then it just cuts to him like ripping it and Slipknot. And I'm like, that's the coolest fucking thing in the world.
Wow. Yeah.
That's his favorite band, and then he's playing for them. That happened last night when we were watching the baseball game. The Padres and the same thing. Like,
so
he grew up, like,
this is
years
a
ago.
basketball player, Klay Thompson.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
He plays for was it the Warriors? He has like multiple NBA championship, jazz things. He's a very prominent player.
Yeah.
His brother is a pro baseball player in the San Diego Padres. And I had no fucking idea. I was like, wait, what do you say? Like, is that you saying Klay Thompson's brother plays baseball at a pro level?
Yeah.
And then
the other guy plays pro basketball.
Pro basketball.
Wow, that's a happy
And,
family.
yeah.
And he grew up as a Padres fan.
Yeah.
So he has the tattoo, the Padres tattoo.
Wow.
Yeah, it's like him playing Little League. Like, you know how like in hockey teams you have like the small Habs and Maple Leafs and shit? They showed a picture of him as well, like playing like Little League baseball.
Yeah.
With like the miniature Padres. And then now I don't know, they just won some like division championship.
Yeah, so they just won the
Last
division. They're going to the conference finals, and
Oh,
they haven't
nice.
done that since '98.
Yeah.
Wow.
So it was like yesterday was
It was a great game.
Wow.
So you're looking at like a comeback thing, and then everybody's crying in the stands like, we finally made it past the division. Oh my god, we spent so much money on players, and now we're
Oh my god. You spent so much.
dude,
on
like the
it.
Padres are gnarly. They have like the Yankees. Everybody knows the Yankees spends a lot of money on players, but all of a sudden the Padres started like making like 10-year contracts for like $500 million for players.
Fuck.
Shit like that. They're just like, who the fuck will play for 10 years in a team? Like
Yeah.
that's so much risk. Like
Right.
they're athletes. They're bound to get hurt. Right? It's like you do a 4-year contract in any other sport, and you're like, that's pushing it, bud. Like
Wow.
10-year, $500 million for like 2 players.
Jesus.
Wow. I'm like, wow, like this is a new era of just money spending in sports, right?
Crazy.
But back to the topic, it was like, yeah, like there's a whole family thing, especially in baseball. It's already hard. Like baseball's like hockey when it comes to minor leagues. You can spend your entire career in a minor league
Really?
and never make it to the show. Never, because it's the 1% of the 1%.
Yeah.
Right? So baseball and hockey are probably the 2 harder sports to get into the pro level, like top of the pro level.
Wow.
Right? Because basketball and football, football is strictly almost strictly American.
Yeah.
Right? So it's
At
only
least
one
NFL.
country that has the cream of the crop, like the industry standard for
Right.
it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Hockey, you have Europe, you
You
have
have Russia,
you have
you have
Russia,
Australia, you
Yeah.
have even Italy.
yeah, you have European countries playing. You have obviously the Canadian leagues,
Yeah.
Mhm.
like the junior leagues, and then you have the NHL, right?
Mhm.
So there's a lot more people playing that you would actually believe,
Right.
but there's so many fewer spots, right? So
Yeah,
the
there's a lot
filtering
fewer
is a
spots.
lot harder, and baseball is the same, right? There's like pro baseball starts in single A,
Yeah.
it goes double A, triple A,
Mm.
and then you get to the big leagues.
Yeah, it's the
Holy
same
crap.
thing in hockey.
Yeah.
Hockey is that single. Well, it's at least growing up. It was AE, A, double A, triple A, then OHL, then AHL, then
QMJHL.
NHL,
Yeah.
and there's even schools too. Like I have a friend from high school that's playing for New York State right now.
Yeah.
For hockey, and it's like
And there's the
Yeah.
college division, right? Like that's just university sports.
yeah, there's
So
a
it's
lot
high
of that, too.
level, but it's
Yeah.
like it's university. It's nothing to do with the minor leagues.
Yeah.
Crazy.
So back to that point, is like there's a lot of dynasties in baseball with brothers or father sons or
Yeah.
that just make it to that level of playing. And then like back to the musician talk is like
Yeah.
there's so many unexpected things. Like Jay and Max Weinberg is the perfect example of like, Dad, I kind of don't really like your music, so I'm gonna play metal.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
I'm gonna fucking play
And I'm
against
gonna be
me.
pretty fucking
You
good
did
at
fucking Bruce
it.
Springsteen.
You know what I mean? Like, I'm sure they get along fine, but it's like,
Oh, yeah.
it's the discord of the generational discord,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
You're playing for like Bruce Springsteen,
Yeah.
and like that's your type of rock and roll,
Yeah.
and then you have the polar opposite on Slipknot.
When
Right,
Max
yeah.
was a young guy, Bruce Springsteen was the edgy stuff.
Yeah.
Like the tight jeans and the leather jacket.
Right.
Fucking, you know,
Yeah.
like the shoulder tab, man. Like, I got my Harley and shit.
Yeah.
And it's so wild because there's a video of them playing drums together. It's like a full done proper like studio, video. They have like side by side drum kits and shit. I think they're both like playing DWs or something. And Max has his setup like so 50s to 70s era, and he's like doing the kind of shit. And then Max just like big hair, just like fucking going crazy. And I'm like, I love it. Or rather, Jade, not Max.
Oh, crazy! Nice.
But it's like,
I wanna watch that video.
it's actually a really great video. And it's funny because now it makes me want to explore more, like, for, lack of a better word, as you just said, like, dynasties in music. Like,
Right.
how much, like, the next thing I think of is Inhaler and U2. Like, Bono's son is playing in a band called Inhaler,
Right.
So I'm like, how many are there?
Yeah, Billy Joe's kids, I think each one of them has a different band.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
Yeah. So like the Billy Joe Armstrong dynasty kind of just keeps going.
That's true, yeah, they do. And Slipknot too. Slipknot's kids. They play in some other band.
That's true. I
I can't remember what they're called.
Iron Maiden has a couple.
They were just
Raven
here.
Shade.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So I
I think
think
was just here and I missed that show.
that would have been good. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm not too crazy about them, but I never just got into them. And then when I started listening to them, I was like, I kind of just tired of metal. That's why I'm like waiting a
You
bit
just
more.
like the more angsty metal.
It's true. I like Masks for some reason. Just
Yeah.
like
You
Slipknot.
like Ghost? You like that?
Yes. And your Ghost cover is fucking sick.
Oh, thanks,
Yes.
dude.
And you did a Post Malone song too, I think.
Yeah.
those are
Actually,
rad.
I've done a bunch. That was there was like a huge break between those ones. But that Ghost one was so much fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How did you get, like, did you just go out and buy, like, the whole, like, suit thing? How did you get that?
It worked out that my buddy Nick, who filmed it,
Mm-hmm.
Nick Charlebois, he had a friend who was another massive Ghost fan, but had all the gear. She had the guitar that they used on that album cycle,
Right.
the mask and the outfit.
Wow.
So
Yeah.
she lent it to us, and man, putting that helmet on was like everything I ever wanted.
Yeah,
Like,
right?
It's
I
like
played-
I am Ghost.
Yeah.
And then I forced Colin from Texas King to play guitar.
Nice.
there was a point, or a couple weeks ago, we were in Montreal, and the next day I was going to see Ghost in
Right.
Toronto, and I was telling Phil and Colin that I was like, yeah, go to the show tomorrow, super stoked. And Colin was like kind of laying on the bed like this, and I was like, yeah, you don't give a fuck. And Colin's like, what are you talking about? I care. I put on the costume. I went in the guitar bar for you. I went in the video. So, like,
That was awesome.
I was like, yeah, fair enough.
So what's your procedure to prep for a cover like that?
That was just learning it, just
Mm.
kind of practicing it over and over.
Put it in the car and just repeat until your destination.
Yeah.
On the way back home, you repeat it again.
Yeah.
That one I kind of went make it pretty much as close as possible because subtly it was my audition tape. So maybe they would see it one day and be like, oh, we don't have the drummer, who's this guy?
They're
But-
an interesting band, man. Like I've seen them cycle through some drummers with like different kind of setups.
Mhm.
Their like fan base goes through the whole thing that Slipknot fan base goes through, where it's like you got somebody that just doesn't look like the last guy. You
Yeah.
can't really tell.
Yes.
You're like, who is this motherfucker? You know what I mean?
Something's different.
Their latest one was with the Tortilla Man and Slipknot. So they made this mask, and then it just became a meme that this guy's mask looks like tortilla. And then they're sitting there and they're like taking these like. They've announced. I don't remember his name, but he played in a band that Sean played in.
Okay.
And so he
Is
was
he
like,
bass?
no, that's V-Man. That's the Alessandro V-Man something, like
Okay.
the Australian British guy with an Italian name.
Did-
He's a unit, that guy.
Oh, so he hasn't left.
He hasn't left, no, yeah.
Who's the
Tortilla's-
Tortilla Man?
He's the replacement of Chris Fenn, the long nose,
The long nose.
percussion guy.
He left?
He left last year, or maybe even more.
2 years. No,
2
it's
years
more
ago.
than that. It's 3
Yeah.
or 4 years ago.
Really?
Yeah, there's a whole like world on why he left and stuff, like a whole storyline. But the tortilla guy, like
not getting along, sort of thing.
not getting along. Apparently, like they were selling merch without giving him a cut. Like it was like a whole.
It was a whole
fucking
bunch
thing.
of, you know.
Yeah.
I would love to see their contract and their business break down like how that
Likewise.
works.
Yeah, same. I mean, you know, who gets what? It's wild because
Yeah.
I mean, realistically, if you go into a bit of the history, like I think technically Sean is kind of first in that.
He's founding member, right?
Yeah, be it that Joey Jordanson isn't around anymore,
Yeah.
you know,
Or Paul Gray.
or Paul Gray,
Yeah.
but like Chris was the guy. Not Chris, sorry. Sean was the guy that like, hey, let's do the masks. Let's kind of take this. Like I'll go to percussion kind of thing.
Huh.
And then all those guys. And Corey, from the main Slipknot lineup that we know, like everything until All Hope Is Gone, Corey was the last member to join that band.
That's what
'Cause
he
they had
said.
a difference.
No, what's his number?
I
Corey-
don't know, but
I
it's
think
not.
like 7.
I don't know if it's numerically ordered like that because Sean is 3 or something.
Yeah, there was something like that, but it wasn't like. I forget how it goes. But
They
it
have a
wasn't-
whole
yeah.
fucking thing. Same deal with the masks and shit too. But like, Corey saw that band perform, saw Slipknot perform with a different singer, and this is like a tale that he always like tells every time someone asks or you know brings up the origin story. He's like, I saw them perform and thought to myself, I'm gonna sing for this band. I'm gonna be the singer of Slipknot, and then lo and behold, you know, he joined and things kind of skyrocketed.
Wow.
But it's wild. You know, it's funny because that case with Slipknot, for the most part, the case with Blink, and there was 2 other bands that I was thinking of as well, where like that last instrumental piece, aka member joins in, and then because there's so many, like they have a documentary, I think it's called Hellfest, where it was like their first tour of the first album, and they did like 2 years. They just went around the world twice, and they played Ozzy Fest, and people would go and watch them play, and then remember the name, and then Slipknot would open for other bands, and then they would go watch Slipknot, and then they would literally leave. And there's like old ass VHS footage where you're playing like not a small dive bar, but like 1,000 people or something, right? And Slipknot's the opening act, and then you see them like getting off stage, and people are like leaving, and I'm like, bruh. And then they were saying like no one wanted to take us out on tour, so I think their second year was just a Slipknot tour.
Yeah.
Like a small time show thing, and it's like they were a band before that. I think they said they spent something like 40 grand, mid 90s on their first album, which was like Make,
that's
Feed,
insane
Kill,
amount of money.
Repeat, or whatever,
Yeah.
which is an insane amount of
That
money,
is a lot for
and didn't do well at all. And then Corey joined, and I think they did some demos, and then did Slipknot like Untitled, self-titled rather, and then. You know what's funny? Linkin Park has a similar startup
Yes.
story.
So like, I love this. I'm a huge Linkin Park fan. Always been.
Nice.
I've nearly cried when Chester died. Like.
That was upsetting.
It was upsetting.
Especially right after, like not right after, but soon after Chris Cornell.
Yeah.
Right.
Which
Yeah.
was like wild.
It's a double whammy there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, like their original name was actually Hybrid Theory, which
Yes,
is the title
that's
of
right.
the first album.
That's right.
And then I forget what happened, but it's something very similar to the Slipknot story. It's like Chester was in the audience, or something like that.
Yeah.
And they needed a different singer. The singer left, and Chester just picked it up, and it's Chester Bennington. So
Yeah, it's just like,
Yeah.
you know, like you have a freaking voice from the gods.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That can do vocals and screaming and hold long amounts of high pitched screams and vocals.
Right.
And
then
then nobody
sing
else on
right
earth
after.
can.
Yeah.
And then it just went whoosh. And the name Linkin Park is because they used to play at this park wherever they're from. I think they're like in like
I don't know. I don't know them well
I think
enough.
they're like Illinois, like one of those like Midwest states. Correct me if I'm wrong, people. I don't remember. But they used to play in the Lincoln Park, like Abraham Lincoln. So the name
yeah.
Linkin Park stems from the place that they used to just play at all the time.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
It's a great name.
It's a great name. Yeah.
We were just talking about that too. Elliott Street. The Texas King has something titled
Elias.
Elias.
That's right.
That's the third time I made that mistake. I am illiterate.
That's alright.
Fuck
No,
yeah.
man. Yeah. From a distance, yeah, it looks like Elliott Street.
Yeah.
Elias Street. Yeah.
So
You guys did an acoustic version
Yeah,
of
called the Elias Sessions.
From
Yeah.
We did it because we just did it in the basement. That's what we
Oh,
called
that's
it.
cool. That's
Yeah.
awesome.
dope.
Yeah.
So have you been on all of the discography, or like when did you start playing with Texas King?
When we did like Chandelier, Greatest Mistake,
Mhm.
Giants, and then I did the EP.
Right.
Everything before that was another drummer.
I see.
Yeah.
Yeah. I gotta say, I love the music, man.
Well,
Like
thank you very
from
much.
from a drummer to a drummer and a musician to a musician. Like my introduction to you guys was live, and I was
Oh.
like, this is so entertaining and so much fun, and I could feel like a collective agreement on energy with the crowd.
Yes.
Everybody's just like 100%
Like
down for it.
as a newbie, relatively to the industry,
Mhm.
you know, a lot of like people like Ian or other people that I work with. Every time that I run into somebody, at least in the Toronto scene, it's like, oh, like who's like seeing like Canadian Music Week, for example. It's like, oh, like you gotta go see Texas King.
Yeah, the
Crazy.
Garrison,
You
that
gotta
last
see
gig at the
Texas
Garrison was fantastic.
Yeah, like it's like Texas King is my favorite band live. Like it's ridiculous.
Mhm.
And I'm like everybody. I'm like, I was like, wow.
They're
Like,
all saying that to you, or are you saying that?
no, like I say it all the time.
Oh,
but it's
okay,
like
yeah.
people are saying it to me.
Oh,
and it's like
crazy.
you gotta go see Texas King, man.
Wow.
It's like
Absolutely.
like people always recall. I obviously wasn't in the industry at all. I wasn't even. But the horseshoe show you guys did before the pandemic.
Yeah,
Oh,
that
I
was
think
my
Jordan
first show.
jumped into like a disco ball or something.
Oh yeah, you punched it or
Yeah,
I was-
everybody
I was-
remembers that like moment or
Really?
like that
Yeah.
show, and they're like,
100%.
"This is one of the best live performance experiences of my life." Like
And he
I've heard
still
that.
played though. I don't know which hand it was, but I was like, I guess I always fucking forget. Stage left. It was on the
Okay.
far side, by
Yeah.
like the side door at the shoe, before
Mhm.
the stairs and shit. And I'm standing right there, and I'm like, this is fucking amazing. And then he just hits it, and I was like, oh shit. And then he cuts his hand, and keeps fucking playing. And it was at that moment I was like, goated for eternity.
That's crazy.
Unreal.
That's
And then
funny.
at the Garrison show, because Jordan is so tall, man. Or maybe
Yeah.
just everybody's
I
really
feel like
tall.
every time I say hi to Jordan, I'm just like, "You're one tall motherfucker."
He's a big guy, yeah.
He was like touching the roof at the Garrison and shit. And then I played that stage in August, and I was like, how the fuck did he do that? Like, I have to stand on my throne, but I have to fully like extend it all the way.
Yeah.
It's so rad.
He's got that long arms too.
Oh my god.
Yeah,
Some of that
like,
extra reach.
My introduction to you guys was actually Chandelier. Like,
Same.
Okay. Shit.
it had some severe playtime on radio.
Yeah.
Yeah, it did pretty well.
Yeah, it did pretty well, and it's a great song.
Mhm.
And
Thank you.
I used to have like obviously like I was driving my mom's car at the time, and for some reason like the auxiliary wasn't working, and I just put like either Y108 or Q107,
Mm.
and Chandelier just ran through that station, like ran through it, and I'm like, I really like this song, and I look you guys up.
Oh, sick.
And then lo and behold, here we are sitting next to each other.
That's crazy, man. That's crazy.
It was like I've been a fan for a while.
Yeah, same.
Wow.
So-
Since, for me, yeah, it was 2019 was the introduction,
Wow.
which is rad.
So-
And then I saw that you guys did the tour with Big Wreck,
Yeah.
and I was like, that's perfect. That looked like, I wish I went to any of those shows like that. Like, what was that like, touring with them?
It was insane, man. I mean, us getting that tour, like, it took us a while. Like, it was talked months in advance with
Right.
no confirmation. It
Mhm.
was just like, maybe you'll do this.
Mm.
You're submitted, and then it got to the point where it's like, okay, you're not going on the U.S. leg with them anymore.
Right.
We'll see about Canada. And we played a show with them in Sarnia. Jordan started talking to Ian.
Mm-hmm.
Monday came,
Yeah.
full tour.
Wow.
I remember I was with my parents. I like, I ripped my shirt off, and I was like, it was 3 months of touring. I was like,
Yeah.
finally, we had done it.
That's
like,
fucking rad.
it was everything that we had been looking
That's
for.
awesome.
It's so funny because I was literally just teaching one of my drum students Black Hole Sun and that song. Both that kind
Oh,
of like
nice.
Bonham inspired kind of groove. It's like, fuck yeah, that's a good shit.
Yeah.
So with Texas King's music, are you a type of musician that plays for the song? Or are you someone that sits down and says, I'm trying to go for this kind of feel and then kind of build it around? Like, what is your drumming
No,
style?
I'm not laughing at your question. I'm just laughing like at my answer because it's definitely changed over the years.
Right.
Because before it was like, well, how can I make this the coolest part ever?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Everyone does that.
Yeah.
Absolutely, yeah.
And that took a very, very, very long time to kind of beat that out of me. Now it's like, yeah, it's very much like for the song, like we discussed, I wanted to get rid of a certain style of beat. Like I didn't want
Right.
to play as much of it on this record.
Mhm.
It was like boom, 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 kind of like that song.
Yeah,
Because
yeah.
it's so easy to go to that one.
Yes,
'Cause it's
absolutely.
groovy.
Yeah.
But, so that, yeah, it's kind of like for the song, but it's very collaborative. Like, I will definitely look for cues from Jordan. And what are you feeling? Like, he's very good at describing what the song is about, and that helps too.
For sure.
Because maybe
Yeah.
he'll say something like, well, picture a bunch of cardboard boxes and elephants walking into the room. Like, okay, so you
Wow.
want toms like this.
Yeah.
It's like, that's it.
Wow.
So he'll give
Is
you-
that like an actual description that he's given?
He gave it today.
Okay, there you go. Because I'm like, I immediately picture like boxes with arms and legs, and then like elephants, and for whatever reason, like those type of like hats that they wear at like carnivals on top of the elephant.
Yeah.
And I'm like, interesting.
Yeah.
What a great way to describe something.
Yeah.
I'm guessing Jordan writes most of the songs.
Oh,
Or
like,
is it more of a collective effort?
in terms of like describe what the song is, because like what we were saying before, you know, if you can take a song and just play it on piano and sing it,
Yeah.
and it's good,
That's it.
You're good.
there you go. So that's one version of the song, and then once us animals come in and start playing our instruments over top of it, it's a new version of the song.
Yeah.
So that version of the song is written by the four of us, but in terms of the core of the song, lyrics and melody,
Yeah.
that's Jordan.
Right. Right.
None of us.
Fantastic
Yeah.
lyrics too.
Yeah.
But he's a great lyricist. And the new stuff that we're working on is some of the best lyrics I've heard him write.
That's fucking exciting, dude. I'm like,
They,
finish the fucking music, man.
so yeah, we're looking forward to it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, I'm looking forward to seeing you live.
Oh
And
yes.
It's catching all these shows. December 9th.
December
It's
9th,
in Guelph, you said?
a music
or-
hall, London.
London
Music Hall.
Music Hall. I'm thinking about the other show in Guelph.
Yeah.
That's why my brain. So to everyone listening, Texas King, London Music Hall, December 9th. Pull up. New music, hopefully within a year or so.
Within a year,
see
we'll
about
say that.
Okay,
Yeah,
so,
yeah,
yes.
that's good. That's
I
fair.
can't wait to listen to that and just like soak it in as much as possible. Heard a little bit of demoing while we were sitting.
Yeah,
there
these
today.
guys got a sneak
So,
peek.
That's pretty
Like,
fun. man.
you know, yeah.
Absolutely.
Awesome.
And thank you for coming on this podcast.
Thanks
I'm
for having
so
me.
glad that we can make this work and make this happen, and I look forward to us chatting again.
Absolutely, yeah.
Especially when that new music comes out, 'cause
Yeah.
I'm gonna have so many questions. How did you position the mic in the snare?
Yeah. What do you see here?
Actually, with a 57.
Yeah.
But yes.
There's no bottom on this. one.
Yeah, microphones. Yeah.
Yeah, microphones.
So everyone go follow Texas King on Spotify, Apple, all these social media. Do you guys have a TikTok?
No.
No. Don't follow them on
We
TikTok?
will by then.
Yes,
There
by
is
then.
one, but there's no post.
Okay.
We saved
Yes.
the TikTok.
And what is your Instagram at and your social
You
handles?
can find me at Melvin_Murray. You can also find me on YouTube.
Yes.
Melvin Murray doing a bunch of covers.
Check
and
out
stuff
those
like
drum
that.
covers. Ghost, Post Malone, all the ones that are out there. Go watch Texas King. Do yourself a favor. Have a good time.
Say hi to Melvin on the street.
Yes.
Yeah, they'll be
Hey
there.
man, I love you, dude.
Yeah, for sure.
I'll give them a say hi.
For sure.
Awesome.
And thank you to you both for coming on the podcast.
Yeah, thanks for having me, guys. This was great.
For sure.
This is great.
Alright, so the Flat 5 fam, you guys know what to do. Make sure you like, subscribe, check out the next episode, and follow everybody on today's episode. We'll see you on the next one. Take care, y'all.
Bye.
See you later.
See ya.